views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in the cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events. Welcome everybody to RAP Paranormal and Friends. We have a special guest for you. She is a clairvoyant medium, an author, and a psychic artist. So please welcome Jenny Pugh to the show. How are you doing?
Hi there, Alison. I'm doing fine. How are you this morning? Afternoon?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yes, I'm super excited to kind of talk about this. And so you're a clairvoyant medium.
Yes.
When did you first realize you had these abilities?
Well, when I was a child, I kind of knew things, and I didn't know how I knew them. And it kind of started from childhood, to be honest, and it developed over the years. But to give you an example, when I was about 7 or 8, I think I'm probably about 8 years old, we're going for a family day out to a local forest. And we parked the car in the car park and we'd go wander in the woods and had a lovely day walking in amongst the trees. And then dusk started dropping and it was coming in pretty fast. And my parents said, well, we need to get back to the car. And then they looked at each other, where did we leave the car? And it's just like green and trees everywhere. and I remember this day, I just held my hand up and I pointed and I went, the car's that way. And they kind of looked at each other and went, okay. And they followed me off through the trees and we went tromping through the trees. And I mean, everything looked the same. And we came back exactly at the car. And I remember thinking, I don't know how I know where the car is. It's just, I know it's there. It's like a knowing.
Right.
And as soon as it just got dark by then and we would have been lost in the woods, everyone was quite happy. Nobody questioned how I knew. But things like that, and then I started seeing spirit and hearing them. And I remember I was, one of the next things I saw when I was in my 20s, I saw a fairy dancing across a table. And I thought, well, that's pretty unusual. People don't ever see that sort of thing.
Right.
So I went... I found out about development circles where you can go and sit and everybody practices to bring out their clairvoyant and psychic abilities. So I went along to this group. I'd never been to one before. And everybody was sitting in a circle and we listened to the medium who's teaching. And then everybody sort of meditated. And then they went round the circle and said, and what did you get? And somebody said, like, well, I got the colour green. Oh, that's brilliant. And then the next person, what did you get? Well, I got I think it was a name beginning with C. Brilliant. And then they came to me and said, what did you get? And I apparently gave the lady's address of the medium.
Oh, wow.
I think it was Salisbury Street, I think it was. And everybody just looked at me and then...
Yeah.
So, it's something I've always been interested in since I was a kid. I used to love like, paranormal things and books on ghosts. I wasn't interested in dolls. I wanted a book on, how ghost hunting and things like that. So,
Yes.
but it's if it's in you, it comes out.
Mhm,
But
mhm, mhm.
yeah, so that's how it all started.
Oh wow. Finding your car through a forest.
Yeah, it was lucky 'cause if we hadn't done, we'd have been lost in the middle of Dalby Forest, and it's quite a big forest. So
Oh my goodness, yeah, that would not be good. Now, can you elaborate a little bit about what a clairvoyant medium is? What's different from that to any other mediumship?
well, there's lots of well. The first thing is there's a difference between psychic and a clairvoyant. I don't know if you know. Do you know the difference between the two? Because a psychic
Mhm.
isn't always clairvoyant, but a clairvoyant's always psychic.
Oh,
So it's like a different level. So
well,
a clairvoyant medium is somebody basically with extrasensory capabilities
Mhm.
that is able to contact and commune with sentient spirits of those who've died, basically, and also sometimes other ethereal entities such as angels, fairies, goblins, gnomes, things like that, because they do exist. Because I've seen them.
Oh wow.
Oh yes, I've seen quite a few things now,
Oh,
and even had an elf live with me for a while, which that
oh
was
my gosh.
quite entertaining. Yeah,
That would be.
um, I'll tell you about him later.
Yes,
Um,
yes, please do.
yeah, yeah. But basically, it's a clairvoyant medium is somebody with the sensory perception, psychic ability that can actually contact spirits of people who've departed. Plus, they're animals as well. It's not just people. I've been in touch with animals as well. And there's different forms of clairvoyance. Clairvoyance means clear seeing. There's 7 different what they call the clairs. There's clear hearing, clear empathy, clear taste, feeling, smell, and touch. Such as I don't know if you've heard of psychometry. That's another. It's very good for if you've got old objects and antiques. You can pick up an item and hold it and get information from it.
Right.
To give you an example, somebody one day gave me a pair of old wooden earrings and a diamante. It was really kind of broken up, but an old diamante belt, pretty belt, that was in a bag, and asked me to see what I could get from it. And as I was holding the belt and running it through my fingers, the energy I was picking up off it, I could tune into the belt, and I picked up the lady who it belonged to. And to cut a long story short, she was a very elegant lady who part of her appeared briefly in the back of the car as I was talking, and she was from America, and she was from a small town, and she went off to Hollywood to try and make her fortune, and it was the spirit of Ava Gardner who came through.
Oh wow.
And it turned out the lady afterwards told me that the items that she'd given me to try to hold were from Ava Gardner's house sale, from her estate sale, because she was a big fan of hers, and I didn't know this. And so this lady in spirit, she never told me who she was while I was talking to her, but she told me all about her love affairs and how things had gone right and wrong in her life, and how she just wanted to have babies and a white picket fence and a house and settle down with her husband thing, and a love of dogs, and so it was quite sad. And then she leaned forward, and I heard her whisper in my ear, "Darling, never go out without lipstick on." So so I've been told off by Eva Gardner, so I'm quite pleased.
Yeah.
But there's different. So that's like psychometry would be holding an item. Some people sense spirit. I sense them. I see them sometimes. I hear them sometimes. You can smell them as well. I've forgotten the correct term for that. That's Claire's aliens, is it? I can't remember now. When you go into a room and you suddenly smell a perfume or tobacco or something like that.
Right. Yep.
The way you can test to see if it's actually spirit doing it is that the smell will come in very quickly and depart real quick. It's not like you're smelling some cooking coming from a restaurant and it wafts in and then wafts out. It's a very I'm here, I'm gone.
Right.
And if anybody out there picks up aromas like that, that's very often it's spirit trying to come through and say, remember me, I'm still here,
Yep.
you know. And tobaccos, flowers, perfume, that sort of thing, you know.
My daughter gets that in her car every now and then. It was her great grandpa's car, and he used to smoke cigars or a pipe, and every now and then it'll just kind of waft in, waft out, and so she's like, "Oh, Grandpa was with me today."
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably making sure she doesn't, you know, look after the car.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's everybody's different. All clairvoyants are different. A clairvoyant medium, though, is somebody, as I say, have those abilities, and then I can what's called tune in to spirit and basically have a two-way conversation with them. So you know, it's quite something, really.
Yes. It sounds like it. It sounds I don't know.
It's different.
It's different, and I'm sure it can be a bit too much at times, because sometimes maybe do you have a lot of spirits come to you all at once?
Sometimes, yeah. But the thing is, you can turn it off, but in case of emergencies, they will still get through, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I once they put me in hospital once, to be honest, to give a message over. The short story, I'd bent down in the morning to pick the mail up off the doormat, and my neck hurt. I went to the doctors, and they went, "Oh, we're not sure about this." Popped down to the hospital. Went to the hospital. They thought, "Oh, we're not sure what you've done here, so let's get some X-rays." And then they came back from the X-rays, and they put me on a trolley and put sandbags around my neck and said, "Don't move. We think you've broken your neck."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I'm sort of like, you know, going, "Oh my God, what's happening?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Right, well, don't move. We've looked at your X-rays, but because of the way your jaw is, your teeth, we can't quite see, you know, where we think it's broken. So what we need you to do is don't move for a couple of days until the specialist is back in next week."
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
So I'm lying on a bed, can't move, and there's I can't see much because I'm staring at the ceiling, but I can just see there's a lady sitting opposite me on top of the bed with her arms around her knees, and she looks kind of worried, you know. And then I'm aware of a gentleman stood to my right, an older gentleman, and he says, "Tell her she'll see the baby."
Oh.
And in my head I go, "Okay, I can see you, you know, I hear you, but I'm a bit busy right now. I might have a broken neck, might be paralysed. Can't, you know, I'd love to help, but I'm really busy at the moment. Tell her she'll see the baby." I'm like, "Look, I'm sorry, but I can't tell her she'll see the baby." Oh, like, So I'm like, I go, "Excuse me, love." I said, and I'm waving to this woman, sort of like I'm prone on my back trying to see. I said, "Could you come here a minute?" I'm thinking she's probably thinking I need a drink of water or the nurse or something. I said, "I'm not quite sure to tell you this, but I've got a gentleman here. I think it's your granddad, and he's saying tell you that you'll see the baby." At which point she bursts into tears. And I'm like thinking, "Oh, I can't even run away, you know, she's going to hit me or something." And she grabs my hand and she says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And she tells me the story that she had a cancer of the spine, and she was due in for surgery that day. She was actually just waiting for a pre-meds to go down to surgery. And they'd told her that when they did the surgery, they wouldn't be able to tell her until they got in there whether or not they'd be able to remove it all. And if they didn't, she would have very long to live.
Right.
Her daughter was pregnant, and she'd been sitting on the bed going, "Oh, I just want to see the baby. I want to see the baby. I want to see the baby." Thank you. You know, she says, "Thank you so much for letting me know. I know everything's going to be all right." So I kind of go back to, broken neck and lying there and keeping still. Anyway, the next morning, the doctor comes in, and he's looking at my scans and things, and had a more tests done. And he's looking very confused. And he looks at me, he says, "Jennifer, I'm looking at your charts here, and I don't think you've broken your neck. It seems to be all right now."
Oh, wow.
I know, "Oh, does it now?" What a surprise. Quelle surprise.
Yeah.
So anyway, they let me out of bed because the neck doesn't seem to be broken anymore. And they let me go downstairs to the recovery ward and meet the lady, and they got all the cancer out, and she was fine, and she was so happy, and she was going to be okay and live see the baby. And I said to Spirit when I got home, packed my bags and cleared off and back home again, and I said to him, "Don't you ever do that again." Just send me with a bunch of grapes if you want me to give a message in hospital or something. But it's funny now and it makes a great story. But at the time, it was, it was a little bit heavy, But
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but most of the time I can turn the mediumship off.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of flick the switch when I need to do a reading for somebody, or or when I feel it's coming through strongly.
Mm-hmm.
But when they want to intercede and they want to butt in and get their message over, they will do so. As I found out to my
yeah. You better listen to them. You don't want to go back to the hospital.
No.
Yeah, they really wanted to get that message across. Apparently,
they did. Yeah.
Yes. Excuse me. I had a question in my head as we were talking about this, and now it's just like, poof, gone. It's like, oh, that's a really good one, and now I can't remember where I was going.
It'll come back.
It'll come back to me. It eventually will, and then I'll be like, squirrel moment. We'll be talking about something completely different, and then I'll
squirrel.
Yep, squirrel. Here we go. So, has your family been pretty accepting of your abilities?
Yeah, very. I mean, growing up, my family always you do whatever you want to do and makes you happy, and I think my dad thought I was a bit balmy at times, going off. I'm just going off to talk to the dead people, and do a show and stuff. Okay, dear, pick your bait,
Yeah.
But actually, he's passed away now. He passed away about 10 years ago. But I've had him back again. I've spoken to him since he passed.
Oh yeah.
So it's quite nice knowing that he can still contact people. You don't lose total contact with them. You can still. I actually had a dream one night. I woke up. Well, it was early one Saturday morning a few years ago. And in the dream, I was in a room, and all there was a big green telephone, and the phone rang, and it was my father that had passed away. And I remember saying to him, "Hello, Dad. It's nice. I know you're dead, but it's nice to talk to you." Okay. And in a dream, when you meet somebody who's passed away, you think they're still alive, But I knew he was dead, and I was chatting to him, And we had a little chat, and he was saying, "Oh, I like the book you're writing, and I see the website you're doing, and blah blah blah." And he said, "Oh, before I've got to go, but I've got a message for your mum." And I went, "Okay, what is it?" And he showed me this picture, and it was kind of like a purpley image, and it has like a flower. It was a very dark purpley kind of picture, and then he disappeared and he went. And I sat up in bed. I woke straight up and sat up in bed, and I've had a dream, but I know it's not a dream. I've got to ring my mum and tell her about it. So anyway, I rang her up, and what I didn't know was that a week or so earlier she'd been looking at a picture of my dad, and she said out loud to him, "You've got a daughter who's clairvoyant, and you can't even get me a message. But if you ever can get a message through," and then she was looking out the window into the front garden, and there was a patch of beautiful irises growing. She said, "Make it blue iris." Okay. So, but she never told me this, obviously. She, never mentioned it. So I said to her, I rang her up and I said, "Well, I've had this dream and I was talking to Dad, and I know it was real. It wasn't a dream." And he was showing me this thing, and it was this flower and stuff. She went, "Oh, yes." And I thought, "Oh, that sounds a bit." And I was trying to remember the dream. I was trying to bring it back, and I can't quite see what it was. She said, "Was it an iris?" And I went, "Yes, that's it. It was like a blue iris." And then she told me the story, and I was like, "Oh, thanks for telling me now,"
Yeah. Well, you
but
finally got the message through.
But it's just great confirmation that the it's not just me that they watch. Everybody has family, friends, and guides, and people that drop in and out. They're not there all the time. They're not standing watching in the bathroom having a shower. They've got better things to do. But they do pop in and out and check. Think, or pop out, try and pop your ideas in your head, like you need to get some new tires on your car. Think about that. Get it sorted. Or if you're trying to do something, or they'll try and put ideas in your head about finding new jobs or whatever it is, because they still care and still love you, so they're around, and they want to come try and help. it's not spooky or anything like that. It's just,
Mhm.
it's just like they're in another room, and then occasionally they pop in, to try and see and make sure you're okay.
Right. Absolutely. I've had there was a spell there where I was having a lot of dreams of people that had passed,
Yes.
and I had never really done that before, but there was a spell where I think I had two or three dreams of different people that had passed, and one of them was my grandmother, who passed when I was in the third grade, so that's been a few years ago,
Yeah.
quite a few. But I had never really dreamed about her, but one night I did, and it was she never spoke, and I was the
Yes.
only one who noticed her in the dream, but she was just standing there smiling at me.
Oh, yeah. She must have come through to you then.
Yeah.
Uh, I was just going to say that's exactly what happened to me with my grandmother, but it wasn't a dream. I was at the hospital waiting for an appointment because I was taken very ill, and
Mm-hmm.
they were about to do a surgery on my leg to do a biopsy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you're sitting and you get that feeling that somebody's watching you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And there was two nurses stood in front of me chatting away, and I was looking down at my feet thinking, oh, why am I here again?
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel this somebody looking at me, and I look up, and then stood between them was my grandmother, who'd died about 25 years earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just smiling at me. Didn't say a word,
Yeah.
just beaming smile. And the nurses couldn't see her. They were talking through her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it was your grandmother that must have come through.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very interesting, but yeah, I just
Because in the sleep state, you're
yeah.
more open to spirit as well, because you're more relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Yeah.
but unfortunately, we don't always remember. It's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like when you astral project in your sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and leave your body and go off on the astral planes and things.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tend to. Sometimes we do, but we don't tend to remember that. On waking as well. So
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Excuse me. Now you have a book out
I
called
do.
"Why Do Angels Have Wings?" And this is basically a book about kind of some of your stories, your supernatural things that you talk about,
Yeah.
things that have happened
Yeah.
in your life. Do you have a favorite story in this book?
A favorite one. I
Yeah.
think one of my one of my favorites. I think it's in the second chapter. You know the TV show Sanford and Son in the States.
Oh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Its English counterpart is called Steptoe and Son.
Oh,
Okay, it's an English
okay.
version of
Uh-huh.
it.
Okay.
And I was once doing a reading I'd been to a psychic show, and afterwards I'd been on stage and done all that bit. But I was with my friend, and everybody had left, and I was just sort of relaxing in a pub. And she said, "Would you do me a reading?" I said, "Okay." So I stood up, and I started to tune in, and I didn't get a person, I didn't get anything, but what I got was a tune.
Mm-hmm.
And I started humming it, and it was a musical. It went da 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 da. And anybody in the UK will recognise that as Steptoe and Son theme tune, which is the British Sanford and Son for an American audience. And I went, "Oh, you must have got like a junk man that you knew in spirit." And she went, "No." I went, "Oh." Well, and then in front of me, it was like a TV set opened out in front of me, and I could see it was like I could see through it, but I could see on the chap, the son, Steptoe, came on, and he took his hat off, and he bowed and took his flat cap off, and he smiled at me and did a bow, and I could see all the junk in the background of the yard. And then they had a cart horse as well. And the next thing I could feel a cart horse nuzzling my ear and tickling my ear behind me. I'm standing in this pub with this like ghost cart horse behind me. And I said to my friend, "You must have known a junk man, who was in spirit, because I'm getting Steptoe and Son, I'm getting a cart horse, I'm seeing all this junk." She went, "Oh no, I can't place him at all."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, I must be totally in the wrong connection then." So I said, "Never mind. We'll say goodnight, and I'll just leave you to think about it and see if
Mm-hmm.
Then about a week later, I was around a house, and I heard da, 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 and I went, "Oh, Junkman's here again," and we were laughing, but I didn't think any more about it. And then a couple of weeks later, I was at another show. And I'm also a psychic artist, by the way, which means I can draw spirit. I can tune in and sketch them.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to go and see other mediums work. And then it's a bit sneaky. What I'll do is I'll try and sketch who they're talking to. And see if I can get the information down as well. But at the same time that they're writing, because they'll say, I'm picking up so-and-so. And I go, yeah, I've got that. And he's, yes, you're wearing a hat. So I'm sketching these people while they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of half heard this woman on stage say, does anybody understand why I'm picking up Steptoe and Son? And I went, and I dropped my pencil and I went, and I put my hand up and I went, you might be with me. And she said, I've got Harry H. Corbett here, the actor from Steptoe and Son. And he's saying, will you believe it's me? I just want to say thank you. And I was like, okay. So anyway, as soon as the evening was out, I rushed out to ring my friend and I said, so it was Harry H. Corbett. It's not a drum. It was actually the actor, Harry H. Corbett. And he wanted to say thank you. Do you understand this? And she went, oh. And then she told me a story that years ago, sort of back in the 50s and 60s, she used to work at a little hotel and there was a theatre nearby. And all the now famous actors, before they were known, used to go there in repertory theatre and when they were moving around the country doing little shows and things. Mm-hmm. And Harry H. Corbett used to stay at the hotel and she used to look after him and cook his breakfast and make his beds up and everything for him. So he'd come back years later to thank the lady who helped make him bacon and eggs for breakfast. And I think that's a lovely story. Just to, somebody famous, star on screen to come back and just thank her for looking after him while he was touring as a youngster. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was nice. But
that is a nice story.
Yeah. And the title of the book, Why Do Angels Have Wings? The answer is actually in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, because one day I sat down with my guys and I thought, I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions, not the normal ones I ask for people, but, like... do animals have souls? What are gardens like in heaven? That sort of thing. I thought I'll start each chapter with a question and an answer from spirit. Mm-hmm. And one of those questions was, well, why do angels have wings? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to tell you the answer because I want people to buy the book and find out.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's right.
But it is in there.
Yes, okay.
And they're actually in the book as well. I have seen a couple of angels now, and it is quite a sight because when I first saw the first one, I didn't actually think they existed, to be honest. I thought it's a nice thought, angelic people and all the rest of it, but I don't really know if it's real or not. But I'd gone to a healing sanctuary for a bit of healing because I wasn't very well. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in this open plan living room, and it was a summer's day, and the curtains were wafting in the breeze, and it was really nice in there. And I was chatting to my friend who was sitting opposite me, the healer, and suddenly this thing appeared in the corner of the room behind the sofa, and it was about 8 foot tall, but I knew in reality it was about 80 feet tall. I don't know how, I kind of just, it was one of those knowing things. I just knew it was about 8 foot, but it shrunk itself into the room, and I could see sort of the right hand side of it. Mm-hmm. And it was a body in white with the most beautiful wing I've ever, with pure white feathers about an inch, about a foot long, about 12 inches long. Mm-hmm. And I'm staring open mouthed at this angel that's appeared in this living room by the seaside. And so to communicate to my friend who's sitting on the couch, because it's behind her, that what I was saying, I whispered so the angel couldn't hear me, obviously. Yeah. So I go, there's an angel behind you. And she went, oh, that's just Raphael. And I went, what do you mean it's just Raphael? And she said, well, he's always here. It's a sanctuary, so he comes to help with the healing. So I'm back home afterwards. I'm Googling Raphael. Oh, yes, the angel of healing, Yeah. Oh, wow. But there's the amazing things over the years that I've seen that, a lot of them are in the book, that it's surprising. It's like you never know. I've never seen it all. You never know what you're going to see next. Mm-hmm. It's like the little elf chap I told about. Yes. I'd gone to a psychic evening, and all night I kept being drawn to the exit sign on the wall. The way the emergency exit signs that they have been illuminated.
Yeah.
And suddenly watching the medium work, I was staring up at the ceiling, And I'm thinking, what am I doing? And I concentrate on the medium, and then I look back up at this sign again. And at the end of the show, the medium says, did anybody else see our little friend on this sign up there? There's an elf that's been sitting up there all night. And everybody started laughing, thinking, elves don't exist,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's why I was staring at the sign.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was leaving, I noticed the medium was laughing at me. And she called me over. She said, he's following you. And I hadn't seen him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, okay. And I'm driving home and I'm looking at the empty seat next to me thinking, elf? Oh, I don't know. And I got home about midnight. So I turned the light off, go to bed, and I start hearing things. Cupboards start opening, doors, drawers. So I've got the blankets over my head. I'm going, I'm not coming out till morning.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, I was sitting on the couch and I looked up, and by the front door there was this little chap, and he was about 2 foot tall,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked like the elf on the shelf. He'd got the long nose, he got the hat, and a green little jacket, but he had these real cleaner, thin legs, red and white striped legs.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I saw when I saw him, I thought it wasn't, oh my God, is that an elf? What is that? It was like, how can he stand up on legs that thin?
Yeah. Without them snapping.
He was dancing. He was doing a little jig up and down, and he was holding a pair of candelabras. And it's not what you expect to see on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, no.
To have an elf dancing with a pair of candelabras.
Yeah.
And then he just faded. And while I was still kind of a bit open mouthed and staring, the phone rang, and it was my mum. And she said, oh, I've just been to tell you, we've just come back from, they've been to like a yard sale.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you'll never guess what I was looking at with your dad. And I went, a pair of candelabras by any chance? And she went, how did you know?
Just a dancing elf.
Just a dancing elf, yeah. But I mean, it's limited the people that you tell that to, without people worrying. But as I started having these experiences, she goes, I can't tell anybody that. But now I don't care. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
If people think I'm, whatever. But it's the thing is, a lot of people have come to me now and say they've had experiences like with fairies or with what I call otherworldly creatures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they've got nobody to tell it to.
Right.
They're too scared for people to think that they're crazy or whatever, or they won't be believed or they'll be belittled. Mm-hmm. So anybody got those stories, you come to me, you can talk to me about it, because I believe you. It's
right.
it happens. I don't know if it's like a slip to a parallel universe or what it is, but they are out there. I mean, there's so many people have these experiences now, and they just need somebody to share it with. So. Right. It's okay to tell about the fairies. They do exist.
Yes.
You can tell your daughter she likes fairies. So.
Yes, my youngest one, she used to be absolutely obsessed with fairies. We had a fairy garden and everything.
Oh, well, they are real. They are out there.
Yes, so
we
never did get to see any, but we had our stuff set up and everything.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the fairies was the first one I saw. The most recent one I saw was a goblin.
Ooh.
And I say I can call it a goblin because I've seen Harry Potter and I know what they look like.
Yeah.
But he did. He looked like he came out of Gringotts Bank. I'd come home and it was a Friday lunchtime. I was quite exhausted, and I'd pulled the car up in front of dumpster outside, a wheelie bins dumpster. Mm-hmm. And I looked up, and then there was somebody staring at me through the windscreen. And he was sitting, dangling his little legs on this dumpster, and he said he got the big ears, big bushy eyebrows, and he had a beautiful vest jacket on with big silver buttons on. And I'm staring at these silver buttons. I'm thinking that looks like a goblin, and he's looking at me with these bushy eyebrows, and I'm thinking, what do I do?
Yeah.
And at which point he started to climb down off the bin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking without opening the door. I'm looking, trying to see where he's going, and he goes under my car. Right, so I want to get into the house, and I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I, I don't want to sort of open the door and do a run out of the house.
Yeah.
Neighbours saying, well, it's just a goblin. I'm just running,
Yeah.
But I did that. I opened the door, took a breath, opened the door, and I did that kind of half-run walk that you see in comedy shows.
yeah.
And lock the door, like it could stop them getting in, because I'm
Right.
sure that
Yeah.
I'm sure the front door's not going to stop them if they want to follow me.
Probably not.
But I think it's amazing the things that you see when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
But never see anything on Halloween. It's just the rest of the year, But
the off season, you see all the
yeah.
the unique things. So I know your book is available on Amazon. Is there
It is.
any other places that people can find your book?
Well, I'm just about to set up on my website so you can buy signed copies of my book. So my website is www.jennypughpsychic.com. So that's Jenny and then Pugh is Pugh, psychic.com. And there's everything on there, all the readings and how you can get readings and psychic portraits, and hopefully very soon signed copies of my book as well. But there's also details of my live shows, which the 19th of November is my next one in Cottingham. So if you're in East Yorkshire, ladies, please come down. You'll be quite welcome. I know it's a long way to travel for a show, but
Yeah.
For us, yeah.
For us, yes.
I've also got another book out as well.
Yes, okay.
It's more of it's on Amazon as well. It's more of a psychic workbook. It's a development journal. So if anybody's interested in tarot reading or clairvoyance or pendulums or crystals or meditation or any of those things, it's like a daily worksheet. With a bit of law of attraction on there as well, so you can fill out each day. And it's a nice big chunky book so you can refer back to and see how you've developed and what you've been doing.
Oh, very nice. Maybe I need to get that one then.
Get two, why not?
There we go. I'll get one for Kim too. All right, and then before we start wrapping things up. I know you're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Yep. Do you have the same handle on each, or?
No, it's at Jen Pugh Psychic on Twitter and Facebook, and at Jenny Pugh Psychic on Instagram.
Okay. I was gonna say I don't have the Facebook, so I wasn't sure, but
yeah, at Jen Pugh Psychic.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that on your website you have a thing to where people wanted readings.
Oh yeah, I do. I do email readings because luckily, being clairvoyant, it doesn't matter where people are. I can do readings in person. I've got a client in Hawaii, lucky girl. Oh, wow. So all she needs to do is ask a question. I tune into my guides. They give me the information. I type it up, email it off to the client. So it doesn't matter where in the world. I can still do readings wherever I am. And the same with the psychic portraits. I can do. I'll tune in, and it'll be either a spirit guide or a loved one or somebody from spirit that wants to communicate with you, and then I can scan and send the picture of the original if they want the artwork to whoever, wherever.
Oh wow!
So, yes, and I also do. If anybody's got trouble with the home, as in they might have a bit of negative energy there, or they want a bit of a psychic house cleanse, I can do that at a distance as well. So.
Oh wow! Okay, very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. I didn't know that you could do it. Well, I mean, I've done some things over the phone with one of our friends, but never had her actually like cleanse the house or anything. So that's interesting. I guess I've never heard of anybody doing that like remotely, not on site.
I mean, it's in the intention, and I work with the light and my spirits and some sort of higher angels and things that I work with, and it's all about energies and how you use those energies and things. But it's nice to be able to help people that are having a bit of a problem with the home. Sometimes people get a bit upset about things happening, so it seems to calm it down for them. That's that's.
Very good. Well, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come join us. I mean, I know it's always hard when there is the time differences and everything.
Yes.
But I always love it. We have a pretty good following in the UK, so we do have quite a few
people we've
interviewed from over there. So
Yes.
we do appreciate that, and we just love being able to talk to others from not just from our states, but from all over the world.
Well, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on. It's lovely to talk to you. You know, I'm looking forward to listening to the show.
I know it's gonna be great. So so make sure everybody that you check out Jenny Pugh. Go check her out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go check out her website at www.jennypughpsychic.com. You can get readings. You can get your psychic portraits done. You can have and then hopefully you, like you said, you'll have some autographed books if people want to get those as well.
I'm going. Yeah.
Yep, and make sure you buy her books. You can find them on Amazon.
Yeah.
Why Do Angels Have Wings? And then what was the name of the other one?
It's I've got my little author's thing on there, but it's the psychic. It's a psychic journal, only psychic journal you'll never need.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if they type in your name, they're gonna find both those books.
Yeah. And could I also give a shout out as well, because I'm also a writer as well, and so if anybody out there gets a copy of Haunted magazine, the current issue, I've got an article in there about my granddad seeing a sea serpent, and so that's a great. Haunted magazine's a great magazine, and there's a lovely article in there that I wrote.
It is very good. So yes, make sure you check out our article in Haunted magazine as well. Thank you once again for joining us, and thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.